So as Miriam said, I'm going to cover one of the parts of this company. In this case, the software. From the software, we have two programs that we're developing: Smart Control, which is, let's say, the classical one, and Smartnetics, which is the new one we're presenting today because we're launching it this month for the design of magnetics. The challenge we faced when we were designing our own magnetics, because this software doesn't come from the, let's say, selling point of view. It comes from our own necessity to build our own magnetics because we make the whole power converter. So we are making converters in the range of some kilowatts, 5 kilowatts, 15, 50, up to 100 kilowatts. And we were facing the problem on how to design the magnetic components. Because in general, transistors or capacitors, you can just buy them because there's a very wide range of devices, and you can select one that really fits your specification. But in general, magnetic devices have such a huge number of freedom degrees that you end up designing a specific one for every project. So we needed a design tool for us. And what we found in the market is that many tools were dealing with this problem, but the general approach in those tools was to give a single result that somebody said that was the optimum design for your project. For example, because it was the smallest one or the cheapest one or something like that. And what we found is that in many of our projects, the necessities were different. Sometimes we needed the cheapest one, but sometimes we prefer to spend more money and to get the smallest one because there was a volume constraint, or sometimes we needed a combination of them. And it was very hard to find that in other tools. So what we did for ourselves and what we now are beginning to sell is our solution to that problem, our approach to that problem, that is not to give a single black box solution, but to provide every possible solution that fits the specifications and the restrictions of every project, and then the user can select the one that really is best suited for that particular project. Obviously, there are many possible combinations of parameters that provide a valid result. So what we did is on top of that, we created a very, we think, intuitive user interface to allow the user to select the optimum design. It's something we're going to cover now with a live demo, because I think it's better to show it than to just tell you about it. And I'm going to cover that in a few moments. This is just an overview of what I'm going to cover today, which are the 5 steps that we have in our tool for the design of a magnetic converter. First, you have to input the minimum amount of data, waveforms, and the wanted inductance or turns ratio, whether it's for inductors or transformer. Only with that you can proceed to the design, but if you want, you can change anything in the configuration of the tool. Everything is open for the user to change, to consult, to touch, everything. Everything that has any impact on the design is accessible for the user, and we will see that in configuration. Then in the third step, you can run the design and get every possible combination of parameters that is suitable for your project. In the fourth step, you can select one of them, the one that you think is the best for you. And then in the fifth step, you can do a profound analysis of the device, you can export that to PDF, and you can export it to third-party tools. Once again, the best thing is, I guess, is to see that for yourselves. So instead of using a presentation like this, I'm going to make a design example with a live demo. This is one of the devices that we had to make for ourselves, for one of our own converters. In this case, it's a three-phase inverter, a 50 kilowatt three-phase inverter. We have only a single inductance in the filter for every leg. So there's a very big inductance value, 300 microns in this case. And the current, as you can see, is let's say low frequency sinusoidal signal of close to 100 amps, and then superimposed to it a switching frequency of 30 kilohertz, the switching ripple of the converter switch. So as I said, instead of using the presentation, I'm going to do a live demo of that. So this is the first screen that you see when you open Smartnetics. As you can see, at the top, you can select whether you want to design a transformer with 2 windings or an inductor with a single winding. And for the transformers, the minimum amount of data you need is voltage and current and the touch ratio. And for inductors, only current and inductance. In this case, as I was saying, we're designing a 300 micron inductance. I'm going to write it like this because I'm more used to this. And you will have to, as I was saying, define the current that your component needs to handle. So we have some, let's say, generic waveforms that you can modify in here. You can select every parameter of the waveform, the peak, the average, etc., the frequency as well. Or for some signals that are more complex than sinusoidals or triangulars or something like that, you can also load a file that you can get from a measurement or a simulation or anything like that. Just a CSV file. In this case, the wave is complex, let's say, because it's a low frequency sinusoidal to which a high frequency is superimposed. So I'm going to load that from a simulation. This is the current we are going to handle in our inverter. So once you have selected the inductance and current, which is the minimum we need for the design, you can proceed with the design procedure if you want. But in this case, for this example, we're going to change some parts of the design procedure just to show how the user, if they know what they're doing, can access every little part of the tool. Because as I was saying before, we want to be as far as possible from a black box model. We want to provide every detail to the user. So in the second step, configuration, the user has access to many parts of the design procedure. So the first one is the database. So in here, you can select what components to take into account in the database for core materials, geometries, the wires, etc. For example, for the materials, by default, ferrite is selected, but in this case, we know that we're going to handle a very big current, more than 100 amps, and at a very low frequency. So in this particular case, maybe the particularities of the project may make saturation a problem bigger than losses. So on top of a ferrite, we're going also to try to fix that with an amorphous material, in this case, one that is made by Elesa, which is a Spanish company, that allows us to get, instead of a saturation of 0.4, like the classical for ferrites, something closer to 0.6, because it's an amorphous material. In the core geometries, we can also select different geometries. By default, the biggest E-core is selected, which is the E100, the biggest we have in the database. But we know that amorphous materials, the one that we have selected as well in the database, are not manufactured in E-cores. The problem we have here is in Smartnetics, at this point, we only allow the use of E-cores and we only wind in the central column of E-cores. But what we provide is a way to use 2 U-cores in parallel, because that shape is very common as well, to generate an E-core. In the tool, that can be done by checking this box, generate E-cores from use, and many U-cores are now available for the design. So I'm going to select as well some very big U-cores to ensure that we have cores big enough to handle 100 amps, and that's for the geometries. We can do the same for conductors. Once again, by default, a regular wire is selected, some American wire gauge 16, but since this is a very big design and we may need some wires in parallel, it will be very hard to wind that with such a big wire, because it's very rigid, it's not flexible. And on top of that, since we have a very high frequency AC ripple on top of the low frequency sinusoidal, it may be better for us to select some bleed wires to reduce the AC losses. On top, as I was saying, of providing something that is easier to manufacture. I'm going to select a couple of them just to take them into account in the design. The user can do the same with the conductor materials, with the insulators, with the sleeves of the wires, with everything. Every little aspect that has any impact in the design can be modified if the user wants. The next step is to select how we're going to consider the different parts of the device. To ease the process, we have divided the full magnetic in 4 parts: the core, the conductors, the insulators, and the bobbin. In here, the user can leave everything as is because the default configuration may fit most designs, but if they know what they're doing, they can change some aspects of it to reduce the simulation time or to have a better design if they know what they want to achieve. For example, in this case, we have already selected very big cores, so instead of using a maximum number of stacked cores of 4, I would reduce that to 3 because they are already very big. For example, instead of using a maximum of 6 wires, we know that would be very hard to manufacture, so I can reduce that to 5, for example. Or since we have a very big window, instead of only allowing 10 different combinations of wires, we can even increase that to have a wider range of solutions of up to 20, let's say. You can do the same things for every little aspect, as I was saying. You can select a different reduction of the wires in parallel. You can change the gap you want to use because we allow standard gapping, which is the same gap in every leg in the core, a single gap, which is a single gap in the central column, or even distributed gaps, which is many gaps only in the central column to reduce the fringing effect and that kind of stuff. You can do the same with insulators. You can select whether you want to use insulators or not. If you want to increase the insulation to avoid partial discharges, you can select whether you want to use a bobbin or not. As I was saying, everything you can select in this tool. I will just make a comment in here about the paralleling of wires because I think that's interesting, because in the tool, at this point at least, everything we do with the wires in parallel, I mean, is using rectangles to stack the wires. But for example, if you're going to use 6 wires in parallel, there are many ways to make a stack or a turn using 6 wires. For example, you can use a 1x6 wire, which is like a horizontal wire, which would be very, very hard to wind. It would be very expensive to do something like that. You can use a 6x1 wire, as you can see here, which is like a rectangular wire that would be wounded around the core, or something more, let's say, squarish, which is this kind of combinations. So everything is considered because the total length of wire is different, the AC losses may be different because of the AC field distribution, the insulation needs may be different because the number of wire columns will be different depending on the pattern that you select. So everything can be configured as well. Once again, if the user doesn't know what to do, they can leave everything as is. But if you want to reduce, for example, the number of combinations, you can do that in here. You can restrict the number of combinations of possible stacking of wires to increase or reduce the simulation time you need. Once again, let's say I'm going to leave everything as is because the default configuration is good usually. And the next step the user can select is what models to use in the design. By default, we have selected the most precise ones we have in the tool, which are the most precise ones found in the later tool. For example, for the core, the IGSE, but we have many options available for the user if for any reason they want to select a different one. For example, because they already have a design done with another model and they want to check if our results are the same, or because they know that in some cases a very fast model, something that has very little calculations, is enough, so they can increase the speed by reducing a little the accuracy. Everything, if they want, they can change. As I was saying, by default, the most precise ones are selected. The same with inductance. In general, we can modify how we calculate the reluctance of the air from an ideal model, the classical model, let's say, that has straight lines of flux going from the top core to the bottom core through the gap, to the model that considers the fringing flux in 2 dimensions or even in 3 dimensions, which is the most precise one in this case. And the same thing for temperatures. You can select whether you want to calculate temperature or not. If you want, you can select the ambient temperature. In this case, for example, since we know the magnetics are going to operate inside the box, I'm going to increase this just a little. You can select the maximum iterations for the temperature calculations, etc. In general, everything in this configuration part of the tool is a trade-off between accuracy and speed. The higher the accuracy, obviously, the lower the speed, and the user has access to everything if they want to change anything they want. And in the next steps, I'm going to show the good and the bad things that you can achieve by changing this kind of parameters. Once again, I'm going to leave everything as is. And the last thing you can modify in here is, in general, first, the maximum design deviation. In this case, I'm going to leave it at 5%, because in this case, this is how much the inductance can differ from the one that we wanted at the beginning, in this case, 300 microns. We always need to provide a very small deviation because it's hard to get like the particular value of inductance, but usually we don't care about a 5% or even a 1% difference. So you can give a little, let's say, room for the tool to find a better design if you allow a very little difference in inductance. And the last thing we can do here is to set some design parameters. The user can set only one parameter or some parameters or every parameter in the design. For example, let's say you want to make a design, in this case, an inductor, and you want to do everything from scratch, but you have already the PCB manufactured, or you are only going to change the inductor in one previous design, so the size is already decided. So let's say you only want to use 2 stacked cores, for example, of a given geometry, for example, because you know that you have room for that. Then you can set only those values and let the tool calculate the remaining ones. The other thing that you can do in here is, if you have every parameter, you can select a set number of stacked cores, a set material. Well, this is a geometry, not a material, sorry. A set material, a set geometry, a set number of turns, etc. If you set everything, you will not get a range of designs. You will only get one design, obviously, because everything is set by you. But the good thing about that is that you can use our tool to analyze a design that you have previously made, because you already know everything about a design, but you want to check the losses we think you're going to get, the temperature. You want to generate a report. You want to export your design to a third-party tool. You can do everything. You can do all that by setting every parameter in here and then exporting that or using our capabilities to analyze your design. In this case, we're not doing that. What we're doing is running a full design. So I'm not going to set anything. And I'm going to proceed with the next step, which is the design. As I was saying, even if you don't know anything about magnetics, you can leave everything as is, because most things I have let by default, and you can proceed with the design. And the design begins once you press this button. Sorry, as I said at the beginning, what we think is different from our tool to other tools is that we don't provide a single black box solution. Instead of that, what we provide is every possible combination of parameters from the databases that you have just seen that matches your specifications and that allows you to operate in that current, achieving that inductance, and with every restriction imposed in the configuration step. As you can see, there are many designs that matches specifications, sorry. So what we provide in here is a very intuitive tool to select the one that is better for you. For example, in this case, as you can see, there's a wide range of temperatures for the devices. So let's say we only want the ones that are colder than 100 degrees, for example. You can select them. As you can see, the impact in this variable is extrapolated to every other variable. And in here, you can select any variable that we have used in the design, not only these ones. For example, let's say, for any reason, you don't care about the cost, you care about the wire losses, for example. Then you can see the impact of your decision in every variable in the design. What you see this, for example, you are seeing that to achieve a temperature lower than 100 degrees, you can do that using 2 cores stacked or 3 cores. So let's say to ease the manufacturing process, we only want the ones that only use 2 cores, for example. And as you can see the impact in here, in the total weight, in the losses, in the temperature, in the wire losses, etc. You can see the impact in every other parameter. And this for us is the good thing about our approach, because some tools or some design procedures, if they only gave you, for example, the one with the lowest losses, they will provide this one. But as you can see, by allowing a very small increase in losses, maybe 0.1 watts or something like that, which is non-relevant in a 50 kilowatt converter, you can achieve a design with a lighter weight, or with a different wire losses, or with a different cost, for example, or with a very high difference in any other matter that may be more important for you in your design, even though they are more or less the same in this case in the terms of losses. So in here, once you have selected a subset of designs that they are good enough for your design, what you can do is, well, now we have a very small amount of designs, we can go to the next step, which is selection, in which you can see the detail of all of these designs. In this case, you have every variable that we have used in the design. So you can see that, for example, the volume is more or less the same for all of them. The total weight is more or less the same for all of them. The inductance is more or less the same, because this is what we wanted to achieve in the design. The losses are more or less the same. The difference is very small. So in the end, all of these designs are more or less the same. And other tools or other procedures will only provide one. But the good thing about here is, even though they are the same in some aspects, they can have a very, very, very different impact in other variables, and they may be way better for you in your particular project. In this case, for example, as you can see, the highest difference between them is the number of tons. That implies that they have a different gap, and that implies that they have a different maximum B field. In this case, for example, as you can see, some of them go up to 1.2 Tesla, another one go to 0.9. Just remember that we selected an amorphous core, so we can handle this kind of magnetic fields. But in this case, for this particular project that we were dealing with, we knew that in some cases, in some particular cases, the current would be even higher than we were expecting. So since we want to be a little bit farther from saturation, to take into account that that can happen, I'm going to select the 3 at the bottom, in this case. Once again, they are more or less the same. The biggest difference between them is how the wires are stacked. All of them, as you see here, use 4 wires in parallel, but the difference is how they are distributed in vertical and horizontal. I'm going to go back to the presentation, and as you can see, the one that is very horizontal, the 1 times 4, would be something like this, which is very hard to wind, once again. The one that is very vertical would be 4 by 1, so something like this, but with only 4 wires, which is easier usually to wind. And the other one is a 2 by 2 wire. So 2 wires in horizontal, 2 wires in vertical, which is something that is usually easier to manufacture, easier to handle, etc. So in this case, I'm going to select that one. As you can see, with this approach, you can see every detail, and you can select very finely, let's say, the one that is really, really best for your particular project. Whether your project centers on efficiency or losses or volume or whatever you're centering at. Once you have selected one of them, you can select that design, and the last step becomes available. In this step, you can run a deep analysis of the single design that you have selected. First, you can check the geometry. As you can see here, we are using 2 U-cores in parallel to generate an E-core. You can see the dimensions of the core, of the wire, etc. You can see if your wire is going to fit in your window. You can see that every turn is composed of 5 wires in a, let's say, a square distribution, let's say. In the next step, you can also check the performance we expect from the device with the temperature distribution. As you can see, we are expecting a highest temperature in the winding of 93 degrees, also high temperature in the center part of the core of 91 degrees almost, and a little bit colder at the lateral parts and bottom parts of the core of 89 or something like that. This is the expected temperature distribution calculated analytically, because up to this point, everything in the tool is done analytically. And the next step is, since everything is analytical, and since we're using a model for everything, you can check how good or bad was the model you selected. In this case, as you can see, in blue is the calculation for the same device, but done with every model, and in a brighter color, a lighter color, is the model that you selected. For example, at the core losses, you can see that using this model, which is the most precise one, as I was saying, allows us to avoid a very high overestimation that we have gotten if we had used this model, the generalized Steinmetz equation, and a higher result, a more precise result, that if we had used only the Steinmetz equation or the Steinmetz equation applied by harmonics. Because for this kind of waveforms, as we know, since they are not purely sinusoidal, using the Steinmetz equation, the raw Steinmetz equation, let's say, would provide a very big error in the calculation. We can see the same, for example, in inductance. We have selected a model that takes into account the fringing flux around the gap in the 3D dimensions. And as you can see, if we hadn't done that, if we had used a classical approximation without fringing flux, we would have gotten a very different inductance calculation, almost 80 microns less. And in here, you can see the middle point, which is the approximation using only 2 dimensions, that is already providing a lower inductance. In this way, you can not only see that you have to use a very precise model for the calculations, but you can also get some insight about the results you have gotten in a previous in previous designs, or the ones you're going to get if you try to simulate the design. Because if there's a difference between the 3D and 2D models, it means that even in the simulation, if you are using a finite element simulation tool, but only using 2D, you're also going to get some difference from the 2D simulation to the 3D simulation. So this allows you to select also the right kind of simulation. In the conductor losses, what you can see here is that we made the right call by selecting a least wire, because we get the same losses if we take only into account the DC losses and the skin losses, or the AC losses in general, which means that the AC part of the current is not having a very big impact in our losses because we selected the right wire for that. Up to here, everything has been inside the tool, so everything is constrained in our tool, but the next step is to check what you can get out of the tool. For example, the first step is you can, if you want, generate a report. I'm going to generate it. What we're doing here is we're generating a PDF report that includes everything that you have seen in the tool. And in here, you can select what to include and what not to include. For example, let's say that for yourself, you want to keep everything because you need everything for documentation. But for the sales people, you only want to provide some data. From the people that has to buy the devices, only another amount of data. From your manufacturer, other amount of data. And here you can select what to include. You can see the same drawings that we had in the application. You can also see some numeric performance of the device, so the total expected cost, weight, area, etc. You can also see what you have to provide to your manufacturer, for example, so they know the gap, the number of tons, if they have to include a bobbin or not, or insulation, etc. And the same thing for your sales team, or the people in charge of buying the stuff. For example, if you have selected to make 3 devices, then you can see the amount of meters or kilograms of what you have to buy, the number of cores, the number of terminals or of thermocouples if you include them, the number of bobbins, etc. So everything you need to provide to the different parts of the people that are in the total project for the design and manufacture of the device is provided in this PDF. The last thing you can do is, well, up to here, everything has been done by Smartnetics, but in the next step, you can export our designs to third-party tools to check our results, or to have a better understanding of some of the things that are happening inside the magnetic. For this, we provide access to two external tools, which are ANSYS and Altair. In the case of ANSYS, we can run electromagnetic or thermal simulations, electromagnetic using ANSYS Maxwell, and thermal simulations using ANSYS IcePack. And you can configure the simulation in here without even going to ANSYS or without even knowing how to use ANSYS. For example, instead of voltage and current, we're going to simulate temperature. We can run a simulation without using 2 dimensions, but using some geometry simplifications. I'm going to show that in a moment. Because thanks to the geometry we're using, the E-cores, as you know, the E-core is symmetrical front to back. So instead of using the full model, we can only simulate, let's say, the top part. It also has symmetry left to right. So we can once again cut it in half and only simulate 1/4 of the device. And in some cases, not in all cases, it even has symmetry top to bottom, so you can slice it again. In this case, this is the symmetry we have, so we're going to simulate only 1/4 of the device to have a very good precision, but in a reduced amount of time. It's still going to take way longer than an analytical analysis, but faster than it could be. I'm going to go back. So what you can do here is you can select where to place your model, and you can generate the model. So what it does is it has generated a Python description of everything that you have selected in the tool, of the material, the core, the geometry, the wire arrangement, everything. And then once you have generated your model, you can run the simulation in a different computer, if you have ANSYS in a different computer, or in this computer in a different time, or if you have ANSYS installed here, with a valid license, of course, you can launch ANSYS from here. This is not my computer, so this field is empty, but let me copy this. If you want, you can also check for ANSYS with this button in here. And if you have ANSYS installed, as I was saying, you can launch it from here. So what it does now is it opens ANSYS, it creates a new project, and it starts mapping everything that you have seen in our tool to ANSYS. It automatically generates the core, it's now generating the windings. If you have selected to simulate the current or the voltage or the temperature, etc., it imports every perturbation, for example, your real current waveform or anything like that, and it automatically applies that to the geometries it needs to be applied, to the windings, to the cores, etc. Also, what it does is, I'm sorry, it automatically builds the reports to see the inductance, resistance, losses, etc., the fields, for example, to see the magnetic field, or in this case, because it's a temperature simulation, the temperature distribution, etc. The good thing about this is the user doesn't have to know how to use ANSYS. They don't even have to know how to build the geometry or how to import the perturbations or how to define anything. Everything is done by the tool. And as you can see, we provide access to every step of the process. We have already generated the 3D model. Now it has sliced the model in two and now in fourth. So you have access to every little step of the process. And once you have done that, you can run a simulation in here, or if you want to modify anything, you can. You have, as I was saying, full access to everything. In this case, I'm not going to wait until the simulation ends because it will take too long, but I will show you the results in here. This is the simulation for this particular device, because this is the one that we ended up making for our converter. And as you saw before in the tool, we were expecting the highest temperature to be in the winding and to be 93 degrees. The one at the center of the core, we were expecting like 91 degrees or something like that. And in ANSYS, we have reached a temperature with the highest of 92. So very close to the ones we were expecting. And as you can see in our tool, the lateral parts of the core and the bottom part of the core, we were expecting lower temperatures, 89 or something like that. And as you can see, also the temperature is lower in the ANSYS simulation. So the good thing about this simulation is you can check that our results have a very good accuracy, they are close to the one ANSYS provide, but using our tool, you can get, let's say, the best of two worlds. You can do hundreds or thousands of simulations only using analytical models and only calculating the temperature in a few points in the whole magnetic. And then for the design that you have selected, you can run a very good simulation with a very accurate temperature distribution. You can see how the heat is going to flow out of the device, etc. This is for ANSYS IcePack. And in this third version, we also provide access to another tool, which is Altair Flux. This is the last step in here, and you can do the same thing we did before. You can select what you want to configure in the simulation, if you know what you're doing. Otherwise, you can just leave everything as is. You don't even have to know how to use Flux. You can select where to place your model, and you can generate your model. The same thing as before. The model is a Python description of your problem, of your design, and you can run the simulation in another computer if you have Flux in another computer, or if you have that installed in here, I'm going to do the same thing I did before, you can run Flux from here. Once again, you can look for the paths in here. I will just press on Launch Flux, and you're going to see the same thing, but in this case, in another tool. In the other simulation, we ran a thermal simulation. In this case, we are running an electromagnetic simulation. And as you can see, the tool takes care automatically of everything. It builds the geometry, it imports the perturbations, it calculates inductance, resistance, the coupling between windings. If it's a transformer, everything is automatically handled by the tool. You don't even, as I was saying, need to know how Flux works. Once again, I'm not going to wait until the simulation stops. I'm just going to show the result. And as you can see here, well, we provided only the maximum B field because that's the only calculation we need in the analytical approach. But in here, you can see the real field distribution. So you can see, what's going to happen at the corners or some stuff that is very, very hard to calculate analytically, but that you can see thanks to the coupling between our tool and a finite element tool. You can see the same, for example, for the H field. You can see how the H field is entering your wires, which is, once again, something very hard to calculate. But thanks to this, you can decide to move your wires or to do something to ensure that the fringing flux is not going to be so problematic, or you can change from this kind of gap to a distributed gap to reduce the fringing effects. That kind of stuff you can do thanks to the finite element simulation. So this is everything we have at the tool at the moment. And the last thing I want to show you is the devices. We did this design. We used in the end the materials that Elesa manufactured here in Spain. And this is one of the inductors that we built for the 50 kilowatt converter. This is just one of them. And these are the three of them in a single, I don't know how to say that in English, but let's say in a single device that we are going to use in our three-phase inverter. Up to here, you have seen everything that we do right now, but and I hope you have liked that. And just a very little thing I want to add to this presentation is, as I was saying at the beginning, this procedure didn't start as something that we wanted to sell. It started as something that we needed for ourselves, for the design of our magnetics. So we are not stopping here the development. We have some things that we have already started developing. So in the next versions, we're hoping to add mechanical drawings to the tool, the BH curves. In this case, at this moment, we only allow the calculation using natural convection, but we're going to add the forced convection. And we know that many of you have different simulation softwares, so we are going to increase our options to export to FEM or to export to PESIM or SIMBA if you want to use some electrical simulations, etc. So thanks a lot to all of you for listening to me. I hope that you enjoyed the presentation. I hope that you like, as we do, our approach to the design of the magnetic components. And if you have any questions, our emails are, of course, always open. And you can also just write your questions now for me in the chat, and I will try to answer as good as I can every technical question or every question related to the tool itself. So thanks a lot, and I'll be back to Miriam if she can run this part of the presentation.
Yeah, I'm here again. I think that you already have some questions in the chat because they were writing while you were speaking.
Okay.
So no rest for you.
Okay. The first one is, can I design planar magnetics with S-magnetics? In general, I would say no. The only thing you can do is, well, okay, if you design a magnetic with a rectangular wire, and you define your rectangular wire with the same thickness as the one you're going to use in your PCB, then it's going to be a planar magnetic, because you can define your core with any dimension, so you can use very planar, let's say, cores, and you can define your, as I was saying, the thickness of your copper wire, of your rectangular copper wire, to be the same as the one you're going to use in your PCB. But it's not, at this point, especially thought for that. For example, in this first version, we don't calculate the stray capacitances, which is something that is usually important for planar magnetics. So I wouldn't say at this point we are focused on that. Maybe in the future. The next one is, can it export to STP file format? Not at the moment. At the moment, we can export to ANSYS or FLAX. I don't know, maybe from ANSYS you can export to an STP format. I really don't know. But it's not something that we provide right now, inside our tool at least. I'm sorry, but not.
Okay. If you have any other question, you can write in the chat, or if you feel more comfortable, you can raise your hand and we'll open your micro. So while I leave you some time just to think, just to remember that if you have any question, not now but later when you see it again, or I don't know, related to any other product, you can write us through our email and we will answer. And just we also want to say to you that this month, this or the next month, maybe the next month better, we will have trials available. So in case you're interested, you can also write us, or we have a form in our web where you can also ask for it. We will contact you when they are ready. So it's a good way to try magnetics and see if you like it. And we'll also have a discount, a 15% of discount, as this next month are the launching months. So in case you're interested, you can also contact us.
As Miriam said, the best thing in here is just to try our trial version. You can ask for it for free, and then even if you have a technical question about it or anything like that, you can contact us and we will answer as soon as possible. So as I was saying, this is the same tool we use for the design of our magnetics in our converters. So we are always wanting new opinions or everything that you think that can be changed, or everything that we can include in a future version. For example, how to export to STP formats, etc. So everything is welcome for us. So thanks a lot for listening to me. And as we said at the beginning, you will have access to this presentation by email, in our YouTube account, etc. Thanks a lot.